readings, I list all the readings in the course schedule. So you'll see if I go down to the course schedule right quick. So what reading corresponds to what week? So, sorry, my cats are acting crazy. Anyway, chapter 1, you can start reading 8:31 or whenever the textbook is allowed, like whenever you have access to the textbook. There will be a textbook assignment corresponding to chapter 1, which will be due 9/7 or 7 days after the textbook situation is resolved. Okay. Likewise, chapter 2 corresponds to textbook assignment 2. See these guys in parentheses? That means you can skim them. In this case, chapter 3, which is important, will be read in week 3 or 4, whatever week that is. Week 4. So in week 4, you'll read chapter 3. In week 7, I expect you to kind of skim it again. And then chapter 26, you will not have read before, but I do want you to skim that as well. Okay. The assignments in bold. So generally, the textbook assignments are due 1 week after the textbook chapter, or one week after that Monday. So due on Mondays, unless they're bolded, in which case they're due on the date that they're due. So, I mean, in any event, they're going to be due on the date that it says it here. But the bolded ones are just to highlight the fact that it's not due on a Monday. Okay. So readings are going to be, like I said, qualitative. That's kind of a limitation with the book. It doesn't really go into how to calculate elasticity. It'll tell you what elasticity is. It'll tell you why it matters, but it won't get you to calculate elasticity, which is important. It's a thing you don't want to leave this course without. And I think most microeconomics courses in general should be doing this, and I think they are doing this, where they'll teach it quantitatively as well as qualitatively. At least that's what my experience has been in both undergrad at Penn and teaching grad school at Drexel, teaching undergrads at Drexel. The readings will be qualitative, and they'll tell you why things are important, and they'll tell you about the concepts. The lectures will be both qualitative and quantitative. So like kind of once the reading is done, and once you've done the McGraw-Hill assignment, you can more or less not study it again. Weird thing for a professor to tell you, but like you'll read the chapter on elasticity, you'll take the reading comprehension, and then you can kind of forget about it in the context of the textbook, and it'll reappear in the lecture. Like anything that's important will reappear. You'll see it both in the reading and the lecture. Though there will be some things that are important in the lecture that you won't see in the readings. So I don't expect you to memorize the readings. I don't expect you to memorize the textbook. Textbook is kind of a secondary source where you do the textbook, you do the comprehension, and then you're done. You're done with the textbook. You can kind of focus on the lecture notes. Okay. So then the next bit will be the lecture notes. Lecture notes will be a mix of quantitative and qualitative. And then I will have a quantitative assignment, which is more or less how much did you comprehend from the lecture notes. So I'll give you an elasticity question. I'll ask you to calculate elasticity given a certain supply and demand curve or something like that. And then tell me, is it this kind of elasticity? Is it that kind of elasticity? So a mix of quantitative and qualitative. But it'll all be focused on the lecture notes. So the readings can kind of provide the background and how it applies to the real world. The lecture notes will kind of give you the quantitative portion of that and how to actually calculate it. And then the quantitative assignments will test how well you've understood the lecture notes more than the readings themselves. So when you're done the quantitative assignments, like I said, just hand them in through Blackboard. If you could put them, screenshot your if you're doing them from Word, just save them as Word documents and then the Blackboard. Screenshot them, put them on a PowerPoint so I can see which page corresponds to which image corresponds to which page. Throw them up on Blackboard. There'll be like a little section. Quantitative assignments are going to be hard. No doubt about that. There's 6 of them total. 6 total. Let me get all fingers in the screenshot. There's 6 total quantitative assignments. You're going to be able to drop 2. Right. So in total, they're 32% of your grade. So that kind of roughly balanced between quantitative assignments and textbook assignments. So you get a little mix between the quantitative and the qualitative. And so that, every bit of work you do here will have some bearing on your final grade. So in my opinion, the textbook assignments are way easier than the quantitative assignments. I think that's a general opinion from past lectures, past classes I've taught as well. But don't freak out too much on the quantitative assignments. Do them. They'll be curved. 2 of them will be dropped. Don't freak out, but do them. I just, like I said, I don't want you leaving without having some math background. Because in my opinion, it's just not right to be teaching an economics class and not talk about math at all. I think math should be 60 to 70% of what you're getting from the micro class. And let's say you were to try to transfer these courses into a bachelor's degree and you wanted to go to intermediate micro, without the math, you're not gonna do so hot. Even with the math, in my opinion, intermediate micro was actually the hardest class I took undergrad. Even harder than, I shouldn't say even harder than. There was like one other econ class that was like bonkers hard, and I don't know, it was very beneficial to get, but it was bonkers hard in terms of the math we had to do. But intermediate micro was, in my opinion, very difficult. So, have some math background if you plan to take on harder micro courses in the future, or if you plan to take on harder econ courses in the future in general. Or, even if you're not taking econ any further, if you want to take any business courses like accounting, or maybe not accounting, but finance courses are going to use kind of like the same level of math that we apply here, kind of algebra with different formulas. If you're taking a science course, the math will be much harder. But at any rate, quantitative logic is a very important skill to have in college, in life. I want you to leave this course with. So I require these quantitative assignments. Understand that while they are curved, they might be a little time consuming, but they will follow the lecture notes. So for a lot of students, I'd say there's like a rough divide, 50-50. Some people get it, some people don't. If you're following the lecture notes and you have questions and you're asking them, it should take about 2 hours to complete a quantitative assignment. If you're not following them and you're spinning your wheels, don't wait till the last minute to find that out, because if it's Sunday night and you're trying to fit this in by Monday, and you're spinning your wheels, first of all, talk to me. On Mondays, though, it's kind of understand I work during the day, so you'll have a rough turnaround. That you should ask me really by like Friday or Saturday. Give it a stab, give it your best effort, and then I'll give you guidance. But don't just spin your wheels, because if you're just kind of taking a stab at it and you're not really sure what you're doing, it can take 6 to 10 hours, I would think, if you're just kind of just taking a stab in the dark. So make sure you follow the lecture material, and then give it a go a couple days in advance, so that if you have any questions, you can ask me, because there's no guarantee that you get it immediately. That's the trap that I fell into when I was taking that micro course that I was telling you about, the intermediate micro course. I'm like a textbook procrastinator, so I waited to the last minute, and then like I didn't ask the right questions, and things that should have taken a half hour took like 6 hours, and I would be staying up all night. And you don't want to go through that grind, and I don't want you to go through that grind. Give it your best effort, but understand that I'm here to help you. And if you start your homework on Friday instead of on Sunday, you can avoid that unnecessary grind. So learn how to optimize your time by utilizing me when you can. It's not an in-class lecture, which has its ups and downs. And if you want to schedule a Zoom session, you're more than welcome to do that in advance as well. Okay, so there's readings, there's quantitative assignments. There's going to be 2 midterms and a final. Obviously, they're take-home because you're at home. So I'm giving you 72 hours to complete the midterms and finals. Your lowest one's going to be dropped. They're going to be balls to the wall hard. I know that. I fully expect that you're going to have a tough time. They're going to, however, follow the quantitative assignments probably about 75%. So I can tell you your first midterm is going to be a lot like your first homework, and a little bit like your second homework too. It's going to be like 60% your first homework, 40% your second homework, with a little bit of loops that I throw in just to see how you're thinking about these problems. And they're going to be hard. I know that. If you're a perfectionist, you're going to have a little bit of a tough time. You just kind of got to let that go, though. Like, that's part of life, is understanding you're not going to have every answer immediately. And then sometimes when I explain the answer, you'll be like, man, why did I think of that? And that is what it is. But I designed the midterms so that they're hard. I designed the finals so that that's even a little bit harder. And there's, sometimes going to be trick questions in there. I curve, and, the two kind of interplay. So if I gave really easy midterms and finals, 72 hours, you'll be like, oh, this is, bonkers easy. You'll fly through it. Everybody gets 100. I don't feel like I've done my job. If I throw in a little bit of moderation, a little bit of, I know in the final I asked this question that, maybe 5 or 6 people of like 40 might get right. The reason I do that is not because I expect everybody to get it right, not because I expect everybody to get 100. It's because I want to see, who's getting the material, who's more or less getting the material, who's skirting, and who's not getting the material. In a perfect world, everybody gets the material, but then I just make the midterm harder. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a jerk in that sense. But no, really, I want you guys to be tested to your fullest extent. But I also don't want you to freak out about grades. If you're doing the work, you will pass. I'm going to repeat that. If you're doing the work, you will pass. If you're not cheating. And that's the third thing. If everybody's getting the questions that I know that nobody gets right, I know that you're cheating. Like, if all of a sudden you're getting these questions right, you're cheating. And it's not that simple. It's not that you're necessarily cheating, because you could be pulling in a lot of good work. But there are questions that 2 people won't arrive at the same answer on by virtue of difficulty. If you ever taken a programming course, or you've ever tried programming, you can have the same task. Sorry, my fingers are over here. I'm like Ricky Bobby right now. What do I do with my hands? You can have the same task be asked of you, and 2 different programmers can come at the same topic with 2 very different formulas. So, if you have to sort data, someone might say, okay, assign an alphabetical number to, A, B, C, D, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. Another person might say, oh, there's an inbuilt sort function. Let me use that. And in this trivial example, one is actually faster than the other, but sometimes they're not faster. Sometimes they're just different styles. And if you arrive at the same question the same way as another student, and I've seen that question answered 100 different ways in the 6 or 7 times that I've taught this course, that's a dead giveaway that you're cheating. So that's another reason I kind of put those hard questions in. So unless you're following my lecture notes exactly and you arrive at that, which is a possibility, but kind of also difficult because it is a difficult question. Just know that I can pretty easily snuff out cheaters. It's not that hard, honestly, with the way that I style my exams and my finals. So again, just don't. So that's why you'll see kind of hard exams. So just like I said, if you're not getting an A in every quantitative assignment and every exam and every final, they're curved. They'll be dropped. Your final grade will be curved as well, like not just the grade on the final, but your grade in totality. Plus, there's, I think, 6 extra credit assignments, each worth 2%. So if you do all 6, you can end up with 112 in the course. And that's actually fairly common. I'm like your grade at the end of a midterm, at the end of a final, will look worse than your final grade for sure. Your grade at the end of the midterm is the way to think about it is the minimum. So if you're getting D's on all the midterms and all the finals, you can still pull off a B based on the strength of your peers. Again, Ricky Bobby hands up. This camera is not where I expect it to be. The strength of your peers. So if everybody's getting A's and you're getting a B, the worst you'll do is a B. If everybody's getting an A and you're getting a D, the worst you'll do is a D. If everybody is getting C's and you're getting a D, you might end up with a B or an A. Number 2, the other assignments, textbook assignments will not be curved. What you get is what you get. Your journals and discussions are very easy ways to get, an extra 20 points in the grade. And then you get an extra 12 on top of that if you do all the extra credits, which aren't that crazy difficult. So, yeah.